And how do you see technology helping and aiding it? Data is one part of that, but you need tools and applications to help you with all that. Don't know who wants to take that
I'll
one
go
first.
Is it all right?
Look, yeah, you go. I have an opinion.
Cool. So I wear two hats in Bank of New York. One is like managing the delivery of internal workstations, and the other one is more external facing in an area called connected data. At the heart of it is the objective of how do I kind of manage and optimize the flow of data within the custody value chain, right? And three pillars are important to us: ingestion, orchestration, and how do I kind of provide the channel flexibility. Now that's wherein I think you have a lot of opportunities, because I can go on building a lot of innovative solutions and put that in my proprietary platform, but if a client does not use it, right, if I don't drop it in the channel of the choice, going back to that term again, then I probably am getting my operating model optimal to maybe 85-90%, but that 10-15% of that sweet spot is left is wherein I need to have client adoption, right, by having like other players collaborate along with yourselves to standardize that data so that clients don't have to kind of have a distorted experience across the ecosystem.
Yeah, look, spot on. My angle to that would be technology plays a role in how you engage in solving the problems, doing the work that you have in front of you as an organization. And the pace at which that's changing is putting a lot of stress on the system, frankly. There's shifting priorities, we need to get involved in AI, we need to do something else over here, we want to consolidate public and private assets. There's lots of opportunity on the table, but change is hard. And change management continues to be a real struggle for clients. You can have the solution, but the adoption then suddenly becomes the challenge. So, folks have been on data journeys for well over a decade now and appreciating how important that is. But changing the sort of staff or user behavior on that becomes the rub. So I think technology plays a really important role in greasing that a little bit to make sure that you're sort of prompting and making it easier and more likely and intuitive and appealing to engage with that. And I speak about that from both a practitioner standpoint and having struggled with it, and from what we see at a lot of our clients is just making the change internally is the vast majority of the battle. The investment, the actual data, the technology can be quite rational, can be quite planful, can be done by design. And getting people to behave differently becomes a whole different kettle.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with what you both said. I mean, Nitesh, it's interesting what you said, right? In terms of getting data to the right channels, it's also about getting, we talk about this with our colleagues at State Street as well, it's about getting the data and having the ability to move that data between the two parties. We refer to it between us as bi-directional workflow almost. So you've got to be able to move those exceptions seamlessly between the parties, whether that's internal or external as well, right?
That's right. And for having that, so that's the value-add service that we can provide as custodians, right? But to arrive at that, right, I'm sure that's a problem with all global custodians and even sub-custodians, right? You start getting a lot of unstructured emails which are on the back of like menial questions that can be solved through data. Yeah, definitely the questions will come, but how can you land data up front, right, for that bi-directional workflow to kick off for meaningful things?
Or is it enabling them to get the data seamlessly without you having to touch it into your data lakes and such like?
Just to kind of talk about a simple example that we went live in the last couple of weeks with the buy-side clients was on Symphony, right? We plugged our APIs into a Symphony channel. The client was native because that's what they use in their ecosystem, right? So, but the beauty of that is that if the data doesn't suffice you, here's data that is presented to you, sorry. If it doesn't suffice, ask the question. But how do you do that? Really sorry. You remain native in your platform. So we build integrations wherein a client can be in Symphony, can ask a question, but now they are selecting the data point that they're asking the question for. So they're selecting the transaction that didn't respond well enough through the intel that we are providing. And now it's kind of integrating with Microsoft Dynamics at my side, which they're giving me the structure of what the account is, what the market is, what the security is, what the question is all about, and why does the data not suffice, so that I can start working on improving that. But again, going back to the example over here, if there's a client on Taskize who's using Symphony, can be native, can receive data upfront, and also interoperate by making me native in my environment as well.
Yeah, I mean, one of the so my background is more on the broker dealer side. So it's interesting because broker dealers are like, we're fine, we've got our life sorted. The custodians actually have a much harder life, as I've learned from being at Taskize in the last 18 months or so. You've got to try and work with the asset managers, and it's like they own it together in terms of the problem resolution, and where they draw the line in terms of where the controls sit is actually half the challenge, and everybody does it differently, as I've learned. So it's an interesting proposition, whereas the brokers are just doing their own thing. They're building their own ecosystem. You can communicate with me all you like, but you've got to work out how to talk to me. Yeah. And they're like, use email.
I think that's true. I mean, there's been plenty of appreciation for the importance of partnership at a more strategic and commercial level with either service providers or brokers or whomever it is. But that lives at a ground level in the day-to-day. And anything that helps bring folks together to be able to collaborate a little bit better is value in the end-to-end chain of process. I mean, just to be a bit engaged here, like maybe a show of hands on anyone who is involved with a middle office function in their organization. Oh, good. Okay, so just shout it out. Where would be the best place to place your middle office on the floor in your organization if you had a choice? Where would you put them? Close to what teams?
Next to traders.
You put them right next to traders. Why?
They're lovely.
Because so they can yell at you, right? And you can yell back.
Because they generate all the problems.
Yeah, but you also avoid the headache of email and chat and everything else, right? It's about efficiency. It's about getting to like, hey, quickly to the answer, quickly to the source. And that falls down the moment you got to go outside of your organization. But traders have these like, what are they called? Turrets, right? Bang, right to my broker contact, right to the person I go and have drinks with regularly, I grease the wheel constantly as a trader to try and have this efficient relationship. And I think that now is being appreciated more in the operations world where the efficient relationships have real value. They generate value, but there's these tools that solve for how you do that more efficiently and quickly have a part to play in that. And I think that's starting to surface now that the data is available. The tools are helping to facilitate the communication. Ideally, you'd put everyone into one room, for any workflow and have them sorted out that way. But the next best thing is probably just to use tech to try and bridge some of those uncomfortable gaps a bit more.